Hi, everyone. My name is Noel Lopez, and let me tell you briefly what I do. I'm a university development liaison, meaning I work with educators at a major Arizona institution. I help educators recruit them, orientate them, and become acclimated to university life. I work in the field of student affairs. Now, I'm just one of many across the university landscape, but what do we all have in common? We all have to have an understanding of student rights. So that is the topic of conversation that we're having here today. So as we dig into this, let's first define terms here. We have to understand what is meant by the term legal status of students attending higher education. So what is meant by that term? Plainly put, Capital Lee do an excellent job explaining this. Legal status means that they are afforded protections under the U.S. Constitution. Your First Amendment right of freedom of speech, religion, assembly, your Fourth Amendment right to privacy. So they are afforded full protection. Most states designate an age of majority being 18 years old. Students enter a university, they have these rights under the U.S. Constitution, plainly put. Now, in a university setting, what you're going to find is there's a broader scope. So there's rights that are included under there, including right not to be discriminated against, Title IX, right not to be discriminated against per sex, that's Title IX. You can't be discriminated per race or background, that's Title VI. You can't be discriminated against per disability. You also have certain academic freedoms as well, covered under the First Amendment rights. You have a right to privacy. And you also have contract rights. So let's just dig into that as well. So what are contract rights for students? Well, when I'm bringing a student in, one of the first things that they do is sign an enrollment agreement. This enrollment agreement has expressed written policies at the university, and they sign electronically that. So that's an expressed written contract. Now that could also look like a housing contract. It could look like a meal plan contract. These are legal binding documents that are out there. So those terms are listed there. But one of the other important things to understand is that there is what's called implied contracts. So implied contracts are saying that there's an assumed responsibility that the university has with the student as well. So in academic grievances, sometimes they pull out documents such as an academic catalog or some sort of a student workbook they're given. So these are contractual rights that the student have. Now, when it comes to their work with each other, as they go to the university, what responsibilities do they have with each other? Well, just as in the community, if there's a person-on-person crime, that could be covered under criminal law. So there's definitely an external remedy at a university in that legal relationship they have with other students. So that means a person could be charged with theft or sexual harassment, which is a big piece, and we're talking about Title IX as well. There's also some other state remedies under common law, which means a student can bring a tort claim, meaning they could sue an individual and possibly the university under tort claims, saying the university didn't do enough to protect them, or they looked the other way, or that's in brevity saying what that means. But there's also internal operative procedures within a university, such as hearings or administrative procedures, that oftentimes student on student pieces, they look to student code of conducts, things like that, to try to take care of these situations as well. Now, what is the relationship that students have with the administration? Well, there's an author by the name of Bucher that I'm referencing in the title, in the reference page, that's from the University of Indiana, that takes us through a history of the implied, expressed, and implied contractual obligations. So, as mentioned before, the expressed is commonly referred to these person-on-person contract. The student is entering a contractual relationship in something expressly written, whether it be the housing contract or the admissions paperwork. But there's also these implied documents. So that is a legal relationship as well, because a lot of those claims are being taken to the court. So as we next now look at furthermore for that, we have to look at what responsibilities student affairs professionals have when working with files and records. So privacy. There's something called the Family Educational Privacy Act of 1973. So that means that as a student affair official, I cannot share information with anybody outside the university unless there has been a written release by the student. They have full rights, not even their parents. Okay, that student has a right to their own records. The student has a right to request changes be made. But that means in my office, I need to make sure that records are kept safely, securely. I can't leave my computer open. I can't leave papers all over the place. So that's the responsibilities I have with students, and that's for their protection. That's so I am not violating the trust, A, of that student, but B, I'm not putting the university in any sort of legal liability there. Now, that's just one of 3 student-focused regulations. FERPA is one of them. That's covered by that. Now, what else in my Student Affairs Department do I have to focus on? I have to focus on ADA. That's a student-focused regulation, ADA, and that's the 504 plan, meaning that there has to be reasonable accommodations for folks with disabilities. That could be a physical, possibly a physical ramp or some sort of setting in the environment, or it could be some sort of reasonable accommodations having to do with a learning disability or a physical impairment. So career centers, they might deal with this, or academic centers, they might deal a lot with that. So they have to have that taken care of. In addition, of course, we talked about Title IX, which is sexual harassment. Most universities has not only an ADA coordinator, but a Title IX coordinator. Title IX coordinator will help people in student affairs departments have an understanding of the issues that are pertaining to sexual harassment and discrimination. They must be informed. They must go to workshop. Trainings must be periodic. And then also, they're also mandatory reporters. So these are the obligations and responsibilities that we have as student affairs official. So as you peer a little bit into what I do, hopefully you'll have a good, clear understanding of what student rights and responsibilities are in terms of this assignment. Thank you so much, and you have a fantastic day.